Welcome to the Songs Garage podcast. Today, we have a really special guest. We have Donkey Kong himself. We've got Lucas Black
Come on, man.
in the house.
It's the Drift King. It's the Drift King.
How are you doing today?
Oh, man. That's one of the most quoted lines of Tokyo Drift. People ask me all the time, what's DK stand for? Donkey Kong. You know, it's the Drift King now, though.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I like that. Do you put it? Is that because if I was called the Drift King, I'd definitely have that on the top of every resume. I'd get every job. Just Alex Drift King Harrington.
That's it.
So how's things going with you? I mean,
oh man, it's going great.
I think things are looking pretty good, huh?
Yeah, enjoying life. You know, getting to spend a lot of time with my kids. I have three young ones, 9, 7, and 6. So been playing golf with them and the outdoors, spending time outdoors with them and my lovely wife. So, but looking forward to this summer, Fast9 finally coming out. It's been a long wait for the fans and everyone's excited and super excited because Sung and I get to reunite and we got to reminisce about our Tokyo Drift days. So it was awesome.
Yeah, sure was. Yeah, it was a wonderful reunion. When I got to see Lucas in London for the first time, it was, I was a little nervous because it's been so many years since we've seen each other, but, it was cool to give each other hugs, and then on camera, it was a beautiful scene, guys. I mean, I had a great time and Lucas did a wonderful job. So he's such a great actor.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
That was, I haven't seen it yet, but the scene, where we finally see each other, was special, was a special moment there. So hopefully it turned out well. And then, but I just enjoyed behind the scenes, we got to chat about where we are in our lives now. And that was cool to see how, because Tokyo Drift was so long ago, it was like what, almost 14 years ago, right?
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Yeah. You were so young. You were so young. Right. I remember when I saw Lucas again in London, Alex came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you remember that book you told me about, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?" I don't know if Alex, you've ever read it, but you should read it. Oh, see, Lucas, like we're campaigning for that book because that'll set your future for you, your wife, and your family. It's about real estate, right?
Okay, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll list it. I'll list it down. Yeah.
Yeah, but Lucas was like, "Hey, remember you told me about that book? I should have listened to you back then." But I was more into video games. I was into video games, right? And I was like, "Yeah, well, you were young, How old were you? How old were you when you did that movie? Like 21, 20?
20, let's say 23, 24. Yep.
23, baby.
That's right.
Baby.
And you were giving me words of wisdom, and it took many years of me learning the lesson the hard way, making mistakes before I finally seeked your advice and wisdom and did a little reading on how to invest my money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you're all grown up. You're all grown up. Yeah, you're sitting in the library like a what?
hey, just like in the movie, right? Han takes Sean under his wing. Come here, let me teach you a little bit about life.
Yeah, but not for cars. Not about cars. About real estate.
That's right.
Sung's Estate Agency. Here we go.
Yep.
So I mean,
waiting on your book to come out.
Han's guide to a rich, fast and furious life.
That's it. Come on.
Yeah. Start with one bedroom condo. Start with that.
Yes.
Yes. Got to start small. Got to start from the bottom.
Yep.
So, I mean, you guys kind of, Tokyo Drift was such it was a weird film, wasn't it? Because it wasn't meant to be popular. It was so you know, this little kind of almost independent thing, and no one really expected it to blow up like it did. And now you're back in Fast 9, and you know, box office in China alone reached $162 million. How does that feel to be part of this saga and part of this family that is so successful and so far-reaching?
Man, I'm blown away. You know, it's just it's hard to fathom. Just, you know, it's incredible how the fans have latched on to the Fast family, and I'm just glad to be back. And I think, you know, a lot of my fans, especially, were wondering if there was going to be a reunion. You know, that all the cast were going to join together and get back in the storyline of Fast 9. So, you know, I think that's what a lot of fans wanted. And so for that to happen in Fast 9 is just pretty special. And I think we're seeing some of the results from it, you know, already. And so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how people respond when it opens up in the rest of the world. And you know, I'm just kind of in awe, you know, that it's already exploded the way it has, and just to be a part of it, and you know, to have Han and Sean reunite again in Fast 9 was a cool scene. And you know, Justin Lin was we were kind of just reminiscing, and you know, it was just a good feeling, because it all started with you know, Tokyo Drift, Justin Lin, and our characters. And so to have it all come together in Fast 9 was pretty special for us.
Yeah. Sure was. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, aside from the box office, you know, when you know, I know it's show business, so there's a, you know, a business behind it, but you know, it does give you a sense of validation to a degree, that at the end of the day, the fans out there, you know, are responding, you know. And look, you know, it's not, you know, this is a fun, you know, popcorn movie, you know, for you to just forget and just enjoy and get back into the theater, the whole theater experience. It's designed for a movie theater. It's not designed for, you know, home TV and stuff. I mean, it's still nice, but then it's a shared experience. So, you know, it's nice. It's just the fact that people are out in theaters, and that equates to a box office number. That's just, for me, it's like, wow, what a relief. People are actually going out there, and they need to experience things together. And we just get to be one of those things that contribute to shared experiences, like reopening, like laughing together, going on this adventure. And I guarantee, you know, if you're a Fast fan, you are going to be so full. Like, this is a Fast and Furious buffet. Like you know, yeah, it's like, and you'll get a taste of every single item in the buffet line that's Fast and Furious, right? So,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that people need at the moment is the confidence and the reason to go out, because people have been, they're almost frightened of going out. I can understand that, going out into what could be dangerous. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I have no idea. But because the Fast and Furious was it's such a part of people's lives. People have grown up with it. You know, I've grown up with it, and a load of my friends have grown up with it. And when it's in the cinemas, it's just enticing. And you see the trailers, and there was this incredible trailer where Vin Diesel's just talking to the camera and saying, "This is the movies." You go, damn, yeah, it is. But yeah. I mean, what was it like? Because I think the story all started with Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, and they were like the OG characters. And then Tokyo Drift took like this crazy turn where we get like a new kind of driving, a new kind of racing, new characters. And then 4, 5, 6 happened. And it's almost like you guys became the new OGs. What was it like to get the whole band back together and, you know, just please all the fans going, yeah, that's who I knew as a child, or whatever. What was it like? Was it good to see friendly faces again?
Tokyo Drift was a special movie in the sense of, for me, it stood out, not only because of the racing, but with the different characters, and Han character is so loved, and and so that was cool to have that into the franchise, and then just to be able to reunite back in Fast 9 was just special to me, because everybody kept asking, what's the storyline, or what are they doing with your character, and I didn't really have an answer for them. So just to be back, the way they wrote the scripts, everything after Tokyo Drift was prequels. And when I read Fast 9, I was impressed with the script, and I think even Sung said it's kind of a twist of a Cain and Abel story, but then also our characters come, Han's character comes back, and how are they gonna make that realistic, and so it was all about saving Dom and protecting him. I don't want to ruin the story, but that was pretty unique. I thought, man, it was a well written script, and so that got me excited about it, because it wasn't just some cheesy storyline where they just like, oh, it was a dream, or it didn't happen. They just put our characters back in there. Yeah. And that was a concern for me, because when I got to Sky, I was like, Justin, what's the plan, for my character, because I just didn't want to be stuck in there like, oh, Sean reappears. There had to be some valid reason for me to be part of the team, contributing to the Fast, family that we've all created with these characters. And so that was special in the sense of the storyline for me. Yep.
Yeah, and it's nice that characters from and a kind of like I guess it would be like a branch of the Fast verse, Tokyo Drift. Those characters can be reintroduced, and you don't have to explain who they are. Like you realize the Fast fans already have been on this journey, and they're welcoming these characters back, like the Marvel universe and the Star Wars universe. Like, it's how cool is it that the superpower is like knowing how to like wrench on cars. That's pretty much all we really know how to do. I mean, now we can, like, we're invincible, we're bulletproof, we can fly and go to space and all of that. But anyway, it's just regular Joes that know how to like do a RB26 swap, but then we're out there saving the universe. But the cool thing is that the fans know us, they welcome us. It's like, oh man, it's, I remember them 15 years ago. I was 3 when that movie came out. I watched it. I know those guys. Like, look at, it's Twinkie. Look at, it's Sean. Han is there. It's like everyone is back. It's that is the crazy thing where we're in I was shooting Tokyo Drift. Han died, so I thought that was it. I was like, all right, this was great experience, and see you later, right? But the fact that when we're on set together, and all the characters from Tokyo Drift are uniting with the rest of the Fast universe characters at that picnic table that symbolizes family, sharing, breaking bread together, and praying, and being one, right? And the characters from all of the different Fast movies from the franchise are there. And how beautiful is that? Like, a beautiful symbol, man. So yes. Art's imitating life there, and it's like cool, because aside from being in front of the camera, that we're breaking bread, and reminiscing, yes, and catching up, right? And that was pretty cool, dude. That's the fact that is something that the fan base and the Fast universe allowed us to be a part of. Come on, special. You know, it wasn't us. You know, we get to be a part of it, but it's the fans going, yeah, man, I want that. You know, I'm down with that. And so we get to exist and continue and play, you know, and who knows, man, you know, there might be some more adventures for the Tokyo Drift crew, right? You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see a spin-off. Do you fancy a
Yeah.
spin-off?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to
That'd be
some
good.
drifting, you know? Go
Yeah,
back to
that's
some
right.
raw drifting, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
Raw
Yeah,
drifting.
that's what I liked about Tokyo Drift too. It was you know, unique because of the drifting, but it's like a real racing movie, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a genuine, real feeling to it. You know, it was believable because of that, because of those races and the car scene. So that was awesome.
People love the match, the pairing of the cars to the characters, you know, like the Monte Carlo that you drove at the beginning of Fast, you know, Tokyo Drift. It fit Sean's character so well, you know.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
it's American, like true American, like muscle, but kind of the underdog car. You know, it's not known to be a muscle car, but then under the hood, you know, hey, no nonsense, right? No, it's not. It's not. There's no show. It's all go, right? And then, you know, just simple, beautiful story arc within that race, right? It's beautiful, you know, and they're very relatable. It's what, you know. So.
Well, that's what's cool about, I think, Sean's, you know, my character in Tokyo Drift. You know, there's a difference, right, between Sean in America, and then when Sean went to Japan and met Han, and he learned that a different technique of driving is more about feel. You got to keep your emotions calm. You know, Han has this calming spirit, this way of life about him that's gentle and relaxed, and, you know, taking what comes and not getting caught up in the chaos and busyness of life, doing what he loves. And Sean had to learn that, because in America, you know, he was all about, you know, the American muscle, revving up on emotions, wanting to race everybody, didn't care. You know, everybody get out of my way. I'm going to fix up my car how I want and beat all y'all, you know? And so it's pretty cool to have, you know, Sean's character, what he had to learn, you know, when he was in America and then Tokyo Drift. And it's like two different characters. And now hopefully we get a sense of, in Fast9, what he has learned, how he's matured, and then reuniting with Han. Hopefully, for me, I want that to come across to all the fans out there, you know.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of Tokyo Drift, you know, you ended up with that gorgeous classic Mustang, but with the Japanese engine in it. There was already a reflection of that change of character, that character progression. That was a badass car. I liked that thing.
Yeah.
How much influence did you have over the cars that you drove, like your hero cars? Did you have any like creative influence over them?
No, I didn't. No, that was all done, you know, with the producers and I'm sure Justin Lin. But you know, when they put the skyline in the Mustang, you know, I think that was symbolic, you know, of Sean's character for sure. And I was so excited because you know, they taught me how to drift. And I remember telling Justin, like, hey, because they did most of the drifting on, you know, with the stunts on Second Unit. And I was telling Justin, like, hey, man, I know how to drift. Let me drift, you know, let me drift in front of the camera. And he was like, no, we can't do it. We can't do it. And so one day we are filming in downtown LA at Han's garage, you know, at the scene where you know, all the garage scenes were filmed in downtown LA. Well, there was this parking lot where they parked a bunch of 18-wheelers. Well, I'm like, Justin, come with me. He's like, where are we going? So we get in, I think it was the Nissan Z, the keys were in it. We get in the Nissan Z, I take him to this parking lot and start drifting. And Justin's in the car, and he's like, "What are you doing?" So we're drifting around, and I'm like, "I wanted to show you I know how to drift." And so he's like, "Man," he's like, okay, I know you want to drift in front of the camera. You want to do it, not the stunt double." So he's like, "If there's an opportunity, I'll let you know." And I'm like, "All right, yes." So when we're putting the Skyline in the Mustang, and we're practicing, right? We're tuning it up, you know, Twinkie and I, and we're all tuning it up, trying to get ready for this race. Justin comes up to me. I'm following this car. The camera is on a crane on this car, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Lucas, now's your opportunity." And I'm like, I'm trying to keep my composure. I'm so excited. I'm like, yes, finally I get to show off my drifting skills. But that car is hard to drift because it's so long and heavy in the back end. So there was one time where I'm trying to drift and I slide and I kind of slide into the mountain. Well, that made the movie. And then later on when Yep. And so then later on after we finish tuning the car in the scene, I get to do a little drift there at the end, and I got to do it. So I was like, finally, I got to show off my skills, and it made the picture show, man. I was excited.
That's so good.
Yeah.
The 300Z is much easier to drift. Remember we went to Irwindale and they let us drift all the cars? That one was, I think, the easiest one. Yeah. It's impressive. Impressive. You did your own stunts. I didn't know that. That was you.
I got to do some. That's awesome. But
real life drift king. Here we go.
Exactly. So like you said, they taught us how to drift at Irwindale Speedway. So I'm 23 years old, right? And I'm getting to go out here with a car. I don't own these cars. I'm getting in the 300Z, like you said. I'm getting in the Evo that they've modified to rear wheel drive, burning the highest octane fuel, right? Jet fuel. And then the Toyo tires, I'm talking about just burning them down to the steel. And at the end of, and right, look, because we can't do that out here in our natural lives, right? Our normal lives, everyday lives, because it's against the law. And then at the end of the day, they gave me a paycheck to do it.
Yeah.
Imagine that. At a 24-year-old, I got to learn how to drift, and just they paid me to do it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is not real.
Yeah. It was like a dream come true. It's like going to the amusement park. I remember I crashed the Viper. I think I crashed the Viper. The Viper that's a hard part to drift, and I crashed it in the wall in Irwindale.
It is.
And I was panicking. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to pay for this or something. Like I'm gonna get fired. Yeah. The guy came up to me and I go, I'm sorry. And he goes, it's not my car. And I'm like, huh? And he goes, yeah, man, there's a whole bunch of them. Just like, hey, that's the whole point. Like, who cares? And he's like, there's more. And I was like, cool. And we just kept going.
Stay another set of keys. How do I get in on this? I feel like I've been missing out. This is ridiculous.
Dude, that moment where I was like, I was in the wall and the guy comes up. I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. And I take off my helmet. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, I'm sorry. And he goes, you okay? I go, I'm okay. I go, dude, I'm so sorry. And he goes, I don't care. It's not my car. I was like, awesome. Let's go. Yeah.
The picture car guys were incredible. You had one on your podcast, right? Who did you just have on?
It was Dennis.
Oh, okay.
Dennis McCarthy.
Yeah, Dennis. And so I drove one of my favorite memories is I got in that. We were at Universal Studio and I got in that Dodge Viper and they were filming and I would drive it and backstage lot and try to drift that thing, because it was a V12. I mean, it was a beast. And so Desperate Housewives were filming at Universal Studios, and they had their base camp like right there at backstage. and I would go through their base camp. I'm talking about ripping it, just burning. I would stomp it. all those actresses coming out like, what's going on? What's going on out here? Oh man, I loved it. Yeah, I got in too much trouble. I got in so much trouble in that movie, man. Oh, I remember just coming back like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Well, you had a hall pass because you were 24. Like, what could you do? Like, no one could really be upset. I remember we, during lunch, we'd be looking for, we're getting ready to shoot again, and Lucas is gone, and you just hear the car like drifting, and behind the sound station, everyone's just going, where did he go again? He's like, he's drifting. He just took off. He's just gone. Like, and they're like, but because they were worried he was going to get hurt, and then we have no movie, right? But then he would make it back. You just kind of, at that time, you just kind of, you just let him do that.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
It's like a kid that needs to run around
I was a punk kid, man. Appreciate you being patient with me, son. Hey,
no.
You taught me a lot. Not only in in front of the camera, but also off the camera. So appreciate it, man.
Of course, yeah.
Do you watch Formula Drift?
I don't actually. I don't.
You'd like it. I'm gonna try and hook you up with a drifter, because that would be amazing. I want to see this. I want to see this some serious drifting. That'd be amazing.
Dude, these drifters would love you, because it's since we started shooting Tokyo Drift, drifting has become so global, and then at one time it was, you had to have a lot of money to do it, right? And what's cool is, like, you go to like North Carolina or Georgia or Kentucky, and you'll see dude out there like working on a Nissan, right? And that's his drift car, or a Mustang or something. But then he spent time in Japan, and he always talks about Tokyo Drift, man, because he sees himself in you, like an outsider, because he was in the military, and when he was in Tokyo, he was like, I want to participate in the car culture, but will they let me? Will they let a gaijin? And then they're like, they see Tokyo Drift, and they're like, I'm Sean. I'm Sean Boswell. So I mean, they actually tell me these stories because they were probably like 13 when the movie came out, and then after high school they go to the military and they go to Japan or something. So in their head, awesome. They love Japanese cars, and Tokyo Drift was their, I guess, their inspiration or their confidence, right? That I can too also do something like that, right? So
man, that's awesome.
So the amount of drifters, it's so diverse now, man. Like, it's like, you're like, where are you from? And they're like, I'm from Kentucky. You go, you guys drift in Kentucky? They're like, yeah, because we love Tokyo Drift. Boom. Right? And you're all, dang, drop the mic, man. Like, amazing.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you drive in real life, Lucas?
I drive a pickup truck. And the reason I drive a pickup truck is because I don't want to be tempted to try to drift out there on the road, because I know my weakness. Weakness. And if I had a car that I could drift in, it would not be good. My wife would be upset at me all the time. She'd be like, we got kids, you're putting yourself in danger. And I would probably have a run-in with the law or two. So I can't be tempted to drift,
Yeah.
Have you seen Sung's Grand National? That car is gorgeous. That Grand National.
Which one is it? The Grand National?
Yeah, the black Grand National that Sung owns.
Oh,
buddy.
Nice.
I name all my cars, so that one is Buddy.
I think I saw it on your Instagram the other day on your live. Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, beautiful car, loved. It's Buick mechanic, worked on it its whole life, and then he was auditioning people to buy the car, right? Like not anybody could just buy it because the price was too good, and so he wanted somebody that would like be a caretaker. And dude, it's like cool because it's not about the money. I was like, man, he's really selling this for cheap. I could just sell it tomorrow for probably double the money, right? If that's who I was. But then you see a guy who, you know, has so much of his life wrapped around the history of a car, and he wants to maintain it or have someone that can maintain it and has the time and the resources to maintain it and appreciate it the way he appreciated it. It was like an honor, like to be, that a car to be passed, down to you, from an older gentleman, and just to be able to share that, dude. And it's crazy. So he's a Buick mechanic for life, right? And then before we retired, he was like the GTR mechanic for the Bay Area of Southern California. So he touched like every new GTR that came into like, that area. So he went from Grand Nationals to GTRs. Like crazy, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. That is.
Great story. Yeah, great story. And because of, Fast Tokyo Drift, dude, like, people like invite me into their garage, Lucas, and they feel like they grew up with us, man. I don't know. How do you feel? Like, how has it transformed the way you kind of, your perspective and in the shoes that you walk with when people, love you so much, where they feel like they know you, like you're a brother, right? That's how I feel. That's what Tokyo Drift has done for me. How about you?
Yeah, it's kind of unique that when people see us on a screen, they feel like they know us a little bit. And but I love it when people feel comfortable, and can come up and just talk or chat and just tell me, that they love my work and appreciate my work. And I like that. I would rather that than someone feel like, oh, well, he's bothered, or he gets talked to all the time, and people come up to him. So I like it when people feel like, they know me a little bit, or they're comfortable to come up and talk to me. But yeah, I've the same way, man. I've been invited into some people's garages and just to look at their cars and what they have and what they own, and that's awesome. That's special, and they love Tokyo Drift. And it's like you said, some of those guys that has the vintage cars, right? They have so many memories of either their childhood growing up, and they've kept this car, they preserved this car and put work into it, worked on it themselves. And so there's a lot of love there. So if they sell them, they do want somebody that's like going to cherish it like they do. They'll ask basically your background story. So that's pretty cool that you were able to have that experience with the previous owner of your car, and and he trusts you. You should feel honored that he trusts you to take care of it and preserve it and keep it alive and well, because it takes that, as with old cars, you can't let them go, or they're going to go downhill. You got to keep them up,
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
If you, before you filmed Tokyo Drift, if you were asked what cars you would want your characters to drive, what would you choose?
Well, like Sung said before, I love that Monte Carlo. I mean, that thing was a beast. And, it had a 500 big block engine. And, growing up in Alabama, it wasn't like I was a huge NASCAR fan, but I watched NASCAR. And so to have that car, that was pretty much like a NASCAR racing car. I mean, it had a slap shift on it, gear shift, had slicks on the back. And I remember getting in that car, I would take the filter off the carburetor and just let it roar, just open it up. Because it was so loud. And we were filming that scene in a subdivision that was being, built. So all the houses were rough framed. And so the vibration, I mean, you could just hear, and feel the vibration off that car would, it would make those 2x4s just rumble. And so I remember looking at everybody as I was driving through, and I would have that thing spinning in third gear going about 60 miles an hour with those slicks. And so that car, it just gets your adrenaline so jacked up. I mean, it's hard to describe that feeling. And so that was kind of a surprise. And I remember too, Dennis, when we went to Irwindale Speedway, they had one of those out there. And it didn't even have the 500 in it. It had, I think it may have had a 350 in it. And I asked him, I said, can I drive this around the track? And he was like, sure, go ahead. And so when I got in it, I didn't hold back. I let her have it. And I see him. Dennis is like this. When I come around the curve, he's like, I come in, he's like, hey, this car is not tuned up yet, man. You can't be driving it like that around those curves. I mean, because I'm hugging those curves, and I'm like, oh, sorry. But so definitely, I think that 68. It was a 68 Monte Carlo. So that one for Sean, I think, fit perfect for his character in America. And it's one of those cars that's easy to work on. He's a mechanic, likes to work on them, tune them up, and build it. So that's the one, man. That's the one for Sean in America. And son's character Han gives me the Evo in Tokyo, and that that's like I said, that's the other side that Sean had to learn. And that car too, he made it his own, and it was so easy to maneuver. Like once I learned how to drift, that one to me was the easiest to drift. Like when I got in it, it was like automatic. And so I just felt at home in that car, felt comfortable. And that was a cool experience. And so, I love both of those. And so I wouldn't change it.
That Evo was originally a four-wheel, all-wheel drive car. I think they had to convert it to rear wheel for those scenes, right? So I didn't know that was an easy one to drift. I thought that one would be the hardest. Huh.
Yeah, I thought it'd be hard.
Not for me.
Hard as well.
Yep. Yeah, wow. It was so well balanced, and it was after they converted it to rear wheel. It was just easy and would stay in a drift long, and it doesn't want to spin out. When the back end's heavy, you're going to have to, fluctuate the gas pedal, I forget the technical term for it.
It's feather.
But as soon as as soon as you get it into the drift, you got to back off if the back end is heavy on your car, because you're going to spin out, right? And that Evo didn't want to do that. You could get it into the drift, back off a little bit, and still hammer it, because it would counter steer and stay in that drift longer and easier than the rest of them.
So what about you, son?
What about me?
What car do you think Han? Do you think he had the right choice of car? It was what was it? It was a beautiful RX-7, wasn't it, with the Veilside body kit? Again, another iconic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I actually had that car. I had a '93 FD RX-7. Yeah. It was red it was a touring package, and I had it right. My parents bought it for me when I was, when I decided to pursue acting, because they didn't want me to go be an actor. They said you should go be a lawyer. Here's a car. And I was like, oh, that's really nice, but I can't afford to pay for it. Like they paid for it, and then I couldn't afford the insurance or the upkeep. So I put it in storage. Literally, I put it in storage. Like I couldn't afford that car. And then I sold it. My current wife told me to sell the car back then, pre-internet, on Auto Trader, and actually in a paper, and buy a house. That's when see, Lucas, right? That's my wife. Now you know where the real knowledge is coming from. Where I got the info, right? So she's like, why is that car in storage? You're wasting money on that. You're paying whatever you're paying for storage and you can't afford it. Like, what are you doing? Like, sell it and we're going to buy a house. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, are you crazy? I have like 10 jobs and I barely make any money and I'm trying to be an actor. There's no way. So we sold it in a day. It sold. In a day, it sold. So then I bought my first house. That was the down payment for my first house. Like I used the FD bought my first house. Anyway,
wow.
So serendipity, we're in Tokyo Drift and that FD is picked for Han. And, you know, I liked it, but then that veil side body kit, for me, I wasn't used to, you know, body kits. I didn't understand it. Like I like all natural. I like my women just to be blessed by nature and just like, you know, I don't need extra. I don't need anything extra that's artificial. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And some of these cars, there's a lot of artificial. It's like too much. So
yes.
I didn't understand it. But then, you know, after a few years, that car just became, I think the color pattern, the orange and black, and then that veil side kit, it represented, I think, a part of the car community that needed to have spotlight, to need to have a spokes car or an ambassador, right? And it did a great job. It was loud, you know, it's like the body kit, it's obnoxious, it's crazy, unreliable FD, right? Rotary is just like the worst, but you know, just beautiful representation, beautiful ambassador for that JDM like community at the time, right? And I got to, you know, be a student and learn about that car even more because I never really got to enjoy it, right? And the fact that, like Lucas said, like, you know, it was Universal paying for me to wreck it. So, you know, I got to enjoy and, you know, and just like, you know, really be able to be a student of how that car was built and how the drifters, you know, our stunt doubles, the actual drivers that, you know, drove for me. Because I didn't do any of my stunts in Tokyo Drift like Lucas. I didn't get that opportunity. But the guys who did, you know, they modified the car so it would be able to be, you know, to be able to do all those stunts. So, you know, it was like the seed, the beginning of that education of what is drifting, why do you have to modify it, whatever, you know, what's the e-brake for, why is it all, you know, how it's you know, it's a different utilization of all the different components of the car, you know, like you want to be out of control to be in control, right? So, you know, and you know, it's like kind of retraining your brain. So it was really cool. You know, and I think it fits Han. I mean, what do you think, Alex? Do you think
I think it does. Do you want to know something really cool about that RX-7? The same orange that they painted that RX-7, I found the color code, and we used that orange as the accent color on your site. It's that exact orange.
Yeah,
really
that is
cool.
That's a color code that you can get from House of Color. And I don't think it's called Sunset Orange, but it's a specific name because, you know, my mentor who, you know, builds and works on the, you know, the Zs and the 510s, when I met him, I said, yo, what's that orange is interesting. And it just happened that he picked the same orange from the Tokyo Drift FD before we met each other. And we, you know, it had nothing to do with Tokyo Drift. He just loved that orange. And so he taught me about what company makes that, and the paint code that, you know, that we used for you know, Dennis used for the Tokyo Drift car, the FD, is from House of Color. Same exact paint, right? Same.
It's a good looking car, really good looking car. I think it fit Han. It's there's something like we've said before in these podcasts. All these cars had like a branding, didn't they? And they just paired up with the characters, and you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. It's nice we got cool cars because Twinkie got that Hulk fan.
The Hulk thing.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if that's gonna age well. I don't know about you guys, but that's not.
I know. It didn't. It didn't. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Do you know where that car came from? Did it actually belong to someone, or was it just built for the film?
I don't know. Do you know, Lucas? Did Dennis build that car?
Yeah, I think it was.
If it actually belonged to someone.
Yep.
It's funny that Universal would use a Marvel Disney, you know, character, right? Funny, huh? To make the Hulkmobile. Yeah, it's funny.
It is.
Fast and Furious did it first, then.
Yeah.
So, going back to Tokyo Drift, you were with Justin Lin in Tokyo Drift, and then Lucas, you came back for a short cameo in Furious 7. But then, how did you come back in Fast 9? It had been so long since you've been this character. How did you prepare yourself and put you back into the mind of that character?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and that was one of the things I was concerned about, and wanted to. I was so thankful Justin called me before Fast 9, because I wanted to ask him, what do we want Sean to look like, and and his demeanor, because I've aged, and it's been so long ago since Tokyo Drift. So so it was kind of what I was talking about earlier. We wanted that maturity that Han tried to teach Sean, and just a different way of life, but still have his own identity in his love for building cars, because my character builds a car in Fast 9 that is pivotal to the storyline. But
Okay.
we talked about still having that love like Sean did back in America, building his own cars, but also having that maturity of life, and just that way about him that Han taught him in Tokyo Drift. So yeah, it's a good question, and I think just talking to Justin Lin about it, and seeing how my character was going to fit in with the Fast 9 family, because for me myself, like I said earlier, I just didn't want him to be stuck in and just to be part of the team and just to be there. Wanted him to have his own unique dynamic, to be part of the family, to bring something different to the table, than just helping everybody else, so
yeah. Sure. How did you do that too, Son? Because it's been a little while since you were in the Fast films. What kind of headspace did you come back with?
Well, because Han is, like Lucas said, everyone's a little older, and it wasn't like playing really like young Han. It was like this older version of him, and I got older, and I think when you get older, you just let things be. And I was like, where do I connect with Han? Like, he has different purpose. He's not out there partying and drifting and doing all these things. He's, he has a different reason why, he has to wake up in the morning, right? And it's because of, things that life deal with, that life presents you. And then, I felt like, it was a nice parallel and nice connect of where, Han's headspace was or is in the film, and where I am at 49 years old, and it was kind of cool to also go, well, why do I want to be in this movie? When you're younger, your motivations are different. It's like, hey man, I need a career. I got to make money. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it's interesting, you get older, you go, well, my wife asked me, it's like, why do you want to be in the movie? Like, I want to know, right? And so that's why I go see my friends. It's like I haven't seen them in I think it was 8 years. It was a long time. I haven't seen Lucas in over 15 years probably, right? So 15, 14 years. And so that was it. And that was kind of interesting to be able to go with that headspace onto a set, and then be able to put the shoes on of the old character. And then the crew, you guys, we always forget to give the crew credit, because a lot of them have been on this journey since Tokyo Drift with me, and with Vin, they've been, a lot of crew members were there since the first one, right? With him and Paul. And they help us get back into the shoes, if you will, of the character, because we're able to talk it out. We're able to look at old clothes and look at references, and the choice of how our hair looks, all of this. And when the benefit, aside from all the the perceived glamour of Hollywood on a big budget movie is that you get the luxury of hiring the best people to help you do your job the best you can, right? And so because we were lucky that a lot of the crew members and cast are back from all the other ones, it was easier for me. And I'm friends with Justin. I mean, we kind of developed Han way back even before Tokyo Drift with Better Luck Tomorrow, right? So we have this history, and it's kind of cool to be able to create a version of the character that mirrors what we're going through in our lives as men, as fathers, as sons. And like, I wouldn't know how to understand or project how a character feels when someone passes away 15 years ago, because no one passed away. I was still young. Everybody was alive. Now loved ones have been they're at in a better place, and it's, you can't act that. You have to know what it feels like. So it was cool. It was cool in that sense, right? But there were some stunts. Lucas is still in great shape. I'm a little ahead of him in age, but the stunts, man, dude, I can't. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do the fight scenes anymore. You know what I mean? Whoa, the back. It's like, whoa. Yep. Used to be fun.
Well, I just want to emphasize, something you said that really stuck out to me, and I think is a good point. Your wife asked you why you wanted to be a part of this movie, because you're in a position now where you don't have to, right? And I think that's such a good point, a perspective that we now that we're older, we look at projects differently. I feel like you and I both do.
Yeah.
And that's what, when Fast9 come to me, I had to ask myself, and I wanted to read the script, and sometimes they're a little hesitant about giving out the scripts, but, I wanted to know the content. And I think, for me, Song, I always try to look at a project now, and especially the content. How can I portray my character in a way that's going to inspire people, right? Or influence someone? It encouraged me, like when you told me that guys are encouraged or inspired to be a drifter. I like those stories, right? Because at an early age, I didn't really think about that, right? I was more wrapped up in myself, just like, oh, it's cool to be a part of this project. It's cool to be getting paid to do this and making this kind of money. But as you get older, you realize there's a lot more to it than that, right? It's a lot more to it than just being in a movie, getting paid, and everybody saying, oh, you're great. That stuff is fleeting. It's fun, but it doesn't last. And so as you get older, you realize when you look at a project, how is this going to impact not only my life, but other people's lives, and hopefully for the better. And so I love what you said, and your wife asked you that. My wife and I have that conversation, like, why do we want to do this? Why do we want to be a part of this project? Because it's something bigger than ourselves out there that we have to really keep in our minds, instead of before, where it was all about me,
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, Song. Yep.
Yeah.
Well said. You wanted to see your friends, and we got to reunite, and that was special, man. I remember talking on the set and just going home. I told Maggie, I was like, man, that was just awesome to be able to get back together, talk about our personal lives, see where we are now and how much we've grown, and how God has blessed us through the past years, and so that was special to me, man. Yep.
Yeah, feelings mutual, Lucas. I agree. Yep. Well said. Yeah.
I think that's a really nice note to end on. Actually, I think now we should move to some questions from fans. Hopefully, if you're watching on Instagram right now, send in some questions and we can try and keep up. I've been trying to latch down onto some questions, but they've been coming too fast. So no, I mean, that what you just said was beautiful. I think I agree entirely. It's so much more than just, it's a Fast family now. Yeah. It's more than just a film and a paycheck. I think, like we've said, it's really affecting people's lives, and I think, I agree entirely. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Right. Let's have
one question.
Look.
Who won? Oh, come on, real questions. How knows the daughter? All right. Much
getting a lot of love.
Norway, a lot of love from India. Much love from Meg Silva. Thank you, Meg. Always appreciate your love. Can we see a sequel to Tokyo Drift? Yeah, I hope so. Anything you learn? Here's a question. Anything new you learned during the COVID break, if you will, or during the COVID pandemic lockdown for you, Lucas? That's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. For me and my family, it was really a time that we got to evaluate ourselves and really, pinpoint what's important and our values and what our character values and the values we want to live by. And my wife and I had some of those conversations, and it was interesting because a lot of times in life, I feel like for me was going through the motions. And yes, I made choices because of what I believe and why, like we were talking about with the content, and there might be good reasons, but when everything is good, or when there's not, a pandemic going on, you just kind of get caught up in going through the motions. And so the reasons kind of got pushed to the side. Well, for us, it really brought back the why behind what we do, and we started talking about it more and wanted to articulate it to our children so that we could teach them, like, hey, this is why we gather together as a family in the evening. This is why we pray. This is why we want to have a good community around us. This is why we go to church. This is why we believe what we believe. So for me, that was just what I learned through 2020 was phenomenal. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my wife and what's important to us. And so, learning that really gets me excited about the future, because I feel like we're going to make better decisions, But it also taught me that, hey, we got to be there for each other. It was such a great opportunity to serve people in your community, to be that light in the world, right? To be that salt and light, and let your light shine and just help, any way possible, whether it be an encouraging word. I think a lot of us with the mask, we weren't talking as much. So I made it to the point, I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to try to live normal during this and just be generous and courteous, still open doors for people. And if somebody, my wife, she has such a good heart, go to the grocery store, buy some groceries for elderly, set it on their doorstep. It was such a great opportunity for us to serve one another and just to love people out there that were hurting, going through a tough time, because, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. This virus affected every single person, I don't care who you are. And that's like Maggie and I, we don't watch a lot of TV. We didn't watch news, watch the news, but we knew what was going on in 2020. All right. We knew you couldn't hide from it. It affected every single one of us. And so that's some of the things that I learned and went through. And, I think it just really brought us back to our core values and what's important to us.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, what a great perspective through this crisis to come out of it with that lesson and that conviction, and it sounds like you guys, found that why, and I think that's, like I'd like to add is like, this virus has affected everyone, and it's interesting. This virus has also, I think, for the first time in my life, like adult life at least, reminded me that life is short, and you can be alone very quickly, very, very quickly. And doesn't matter what you do, like a virus could take just take everything away. Like to share with you guys, my father-in-law passed away during the pandemic, and not through COVID, but he had multiple heart attacks, and he was 91. So he had a great life, and he was living with us, and, he was taken away when we took him to the emergency room, and we couldn't see him. So he passed away alone in a room all by himself. And I sit there and I go, who would have guessed that was going to be his last day, right? And I came home and looking at my wife, and it reminded me, it was like a reboot in my head, like a computer going, what if that was you? What if this was our last day? Yesterday or this morning was the last time we saw him. And I have to live each day like this is our last day. And we have to contribute. It has to be smiles, man. Like I use the metaphor. I use the mantra, eat ice cream every day, like eat ice cream every day. Find your ice cream and eat it every day, because it might be the last. And that alone, prior to this COVID and this pandemic and the crisis and the experience of losing a loved one and seeing a daughter lose her final parent, that stuff is so dark and tragic and painful. But coming out of it through the crisis, like you, Lucas, it made me question, like, what is my why? Like, why am I here? Why am I an actor? Why am I a husband? What kind of husband am I? What kind of friend am I? What am I doing this podcast for? And because of these experiences, everything has a foundation of why. It's like, hey man, I need everything I do that has a legacy that people can like touch or hear from me. It has to be something positive, from the crisis, from the negative. That is my purpose. The acting thing is just a bonus. It just gives us more people that will listen to us. It's about it. It's a tool it's a bigger microphone. That's all it is. So I'm with you. I'm so happy that you're able to articulate that. And beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Good question.
Yeah. Oh, these questions are so deep. They're so deep.
I feel like
we want to talk about cars.
Should we go into philosophy some more? I like that.
Where is Brian T? Okay, let's get some questions. Let's go. Hi, Sal. All right. One more question. All right.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. One more question. How did you guys start your career?
Yeah, this is a great question for Lucas, because Lucas has been acting since he was really young. How did you start your career, Lucas?
So I started when I was 10 years old, and I didn't even know there was such a thing as acting, right? I grew up in Alabama, rural Alabama, played outside all the time, fishing, hunting, playing sports, baseball, basketball, football. And so my mom heard about an audition on the radio for this movie, The War. Kevin Costner was in it. And it didn't even call for kids in my age group, but she thought, well, maybe Kevin Costner will be at the audition. So she takes me anyway. And it was about 5,000 kids. at this civic center, and they had us come into a room. They picked out like 30 to 50 kids, and they asked us our name, where we lived, and our age. And so all these kids are kind of shy and quiet, and they're giving their address, and so they get to me. And I grew up right in a small community where we have one of those service stations that has everything. It has hardware, it's got groceries, it's got VHS tapes, movies you can rent. I mean, it has it all, right? And the owner, his last name was Wiggins, so it was called Wiggins Grocery. Well, I lived about 3 or 4 houses down from Wiggins Grocery. And so it gets to me and they're like, okay, Luke, or okay, who are you? Tell us about yourself. I said, my name's Lucas. And I said, now you guys know where Mickey Wiggins' store is? You go down 157 and you turn left, and I'm about 3 houses down, on the left, only paved drive. And they're like, we need you to read lines, kid. And so that's how I got to read lines and got that part. And then I had another audition. And then this was a funny one too, for a TV show called American Gothic, CBS did, in Wilmington, North Carolina. My mom drives me out there. We get into the office. All these kids are lined up in the hallway. And it was like real strange because they were sitting down, like reading lines, and I guess all the stage moms with them. And I'm like, what are these kids doing? It's so quiet in here, why aren't they playing? I go in and meet the director. I talk to him. I don't even think I read lines. It was just like a meet. I go back outside and they had these big, huge live oak trees. We didn't have them in North Alabama. They're all along the coast, the Gulf, and starts in Texas and then goes through South Carolina and North Carolina. So I go outside and I'm climbing on this live oak tree. Well, the director sees me through his window and he's like, who's that kid? That's who I want to audition in front of CBS. So they picked me because I was out there climbing a tree. And then after that, Sling Blade was what kicked the career off, but I got Sling Blade. But that's how it all started for me. So I guess it was just no fear, man. Didn't care. Didn't know anything about acting. Was just being a normal Southern boy from Alabama, and that got me. That got me started.
Yeah. Sling Blade is one of my favorite movies. I mean, should see. I don't know if you saw that film, Alex, but Lucas is so good in it.
I need to
So
see
good.
it.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Appreciate it.
Him. Beautiful film. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And War is great too. He's great in War as well. So
Yeah. Appreciate it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, what a great lesson. Like, you're just yourself, being open. There's like, I understand that audition room you go in and everyone's all serious. It's like the temperature's all cold and no one says hi to each other. It's like they want it so bad, they want it so bad. It's like life and death, right?
I know.
And the person is like, I don't even know what I'm here for. Like, where do you live? I don't know, but I live by Wiggins. You know Wiggins?
That's it.
That's him.
That's it. That's right.
That's beautiful.
That's right.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I was so blessed. I didn't have any fear of like the camera, any fear of man, or fear of judgment, right? I knew my parents loved me. I was raised in a great home, so I was blessed. But I was just being a normal kid with didn't have a care in the world, and so they latched onto it and hired me for a few jobs, and then I guess recognized I had a little bit of talent in there. So that's what kicked the career off.
Wow. Not a little talent, a lot of talent.
Well, appreciate it, son. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you both for taking the time out to answer some questions. You're both brilliant people. I appreciate you both. And thank you everyone on Instagram for watching along. Make sure you go follow Lucas. Make sure you go follow Lucas. And then after you've done that, go over to Sun's Garage and follow us too.
That's right.
But yeah, thank you so much. It's been great. It's been a real pleasure meeting you and hearing about, your experiences and your past. It's been really good.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Appreciate y'all having me on. Appreciate it, son. It's been awesome. Good seeing you on Zoom.
Thank you, Lucas. Yeah. Really proud of the man you've become. So thank you for sharing your words today. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, brother.